Hello again, YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. One of the things I really love about Tesla is the way that they are always pushing out over-the-air software updates, new features being added all the time that are designed by the Tesla team to enhance your vehicle. Some of these updates are really big, but sometimes something happens and it just kind of goes under the radar, and this is one of them. It's called Active Curve Assist. It's on non-FSD cars, so basically outside of North America where we don't have full self-driving. It's something which is supposed to make it better when you're on autopilot on twisty roads. But is it any good? There's only one way to find out. So before we get going, the thing to note here is you will not find this software update anywhere on the system. So if I go to software and release notes, come on, trying to tap it while I'm looking at my thumb through the camera is quite difficult. So I'm running 2024.38.2. Again, North American viewers, none of this is relevant to you other than a curiosity factor. We're on a completely different software stack to you guys. So we got a Spotify free, which is great if you don't have a premium subscription, but I already do, being able to adjust the mirrors, and then other updates, which gives you Wi-Fi information and being able to fold mirrors and things like that. But in the bottom, this release contains minor fixes and improvements. That is the only mention that you are going to find anywhere. Minor fixes and improvements. Okay, it is not listed anywhere, and despite that, something pretty fundamental has happened. It's a sunny Sunday morning and we're basically going to get straight on with this. So let's talk about what system I've got in this car, and then we'll talk about what the issues have been. So this is running standard autopilot. So for my North American audience, we do not have full self-driving, nor do we have the entire software stack which powers full self-driving. It simply does not exist outside of North America. So our cars are on a completely different version of software, and basically autopilot is designed for what Americans quaintly describe as highway driving, so motorways and fast roads. It's not really designed for twisties like this, and certainly not for around town. I have done quite a bit of autopilot testing on roads like this, and it's not been great. It is useful, but it's not spectacular. So what we're going to do here is basically stick it on, and I'm not going to the speed limit because it's ridiculous to even think about the speed limit around here, but 45 or so is perfectly okay to do on this twisty bit, and then we'll speed it up a bit. So I'm just resting my hand on the wheel. This car has been here for ages, having been rolled over and dumped into the field, which happens. Right, so it's not made that at all. That was at 40 miles an hour, okay? That is what I'm used to with autopilot on twisty roads. Basically, in Europe, the UNECE regulations prohibit the amount of steering lock that you can put on. So there is a restriction. You can only put so much lock on while it's being driven semi-autonomously, and this is only level 2 autonomously where I'm in charge, but it won't let the wheel turn anything like as much as you see American cars doing on full self-driving, which is why if you go too fast into a bend, it simply cannot get around it and it panics mid-corner, as you just saw there. This new feature supposedly completely rewrites how it approaches these bends and applies braking and steering lock differently to assist you round the bend. Active steering assist. And I have seen it come up on the screen and was actually quite impressed with what it was doing. So it's braked itself down, and it hasn't come up onto the screen there. It said auto steer limited, but it did brake itself down before we got into the corner to make sure that we could go around it. So that was reasonably good, although not entirely smooth. I mean, you do worry a little bit as the car is doing its thing. And obviously I'm here monitoring it. I've got my feet on the pedals, I've got my hands on the steering wheel, and I'm not going to take them off on any of the bends because I am anticipating the need to intervene. This is purely software testing to see if it's any better. And the nag, you've just seen the nag come up on screen. I had read something suggesting that the nag was going to be greatly reduced, if not removed completely, on Autopilot, because we do have a camera up here which is watching and making sure that you're paying attention. With the FSD software stack in North America, that has definitely happened. So we're going to speed up now to 60, which is the speed limit on this road. Now it's a bit straighter, and we'll see what happens as we get to some more gradually sweeping bends a little bit later. But yes, the nag has largely been removed on US and Canadian FSD enabled cars. But here in Europe, it's still there. Like now, it's extremely annoying, and I really do wish that they would dial that back just a wee bit. But what we're looking for is that this revised bit of software tweaking that they have done, how it treats bends when it's coming up to them like this. It's sat me quite neatly in the middle of the lane, and okay, we are going around it at the speed limit without taking any speed off. It gave a slight little dab, well, either with the brakes or with regen then, just to pull it back in a little bit, but that was pretty smooth. And then we sweep left, and again, it's doing a perfectly good job so far. Let's see what happens when we get to some tighter bends a bit further up. We saw the ones at the back, it wasn't doing much of anything. So what we are going to do now is look at how Autopilot treats changes in speed limits. So there is a 50 miles an hour limit coming up through the village, and what it's going to do, if I let it, is do nothing until it goes through the 50 peg. Now, because I don't want to be speeding on video or at all, I'm going to drop it off first and then re-engage it. So 49 is fine down here, it's a 50 limit. In fact, let's nudge it up to 50. What it's then going to do is to see the adjustable speed limit, okay, and react. It's going to go to 20, and I'm going to have to put my foot onto the brake just to turn it off and then dab it. We have adjustable speed limits in the UK, such as going past that school there, where the speed limit is reduced when the lights are flashing, and then it increases again once you come out of it. But they're only 20 mile an hour limits when the lights are flashing, which they're not because it's a Sunday morning and the kids aren't in school. Autopilot and the cameras reading the signs cannot tell the difference, and it will bang you down to 20. And here in Scotland, we have long stretches of roads such as the A9, which heads up through the Highlands towards Inverness and the far north of Scotland, where again you have differential speed limits for trucks, and the sign will tell trucks what their speed is, and the camera thinks that is the speed you have to drive at and slows down accordingly. So for roads like that, Autopilot is useless. So we're doing 55 round here, which is probably about as fast as I'd want to go. It's saying auto steer is limited, but other than that, no problem at all. Let's see how we get on. This video is sponsored by Millibricks, which is the online home for Lego compatible military brick toys like this fantastic Memphis Belle Flying Fortress. You know you want one for Christmas. Get 10% off with the code GET when you shop at Millibricks. It's definitely doing better than it has done in the past, although you still get to the point where you're going too fast for a bend. The UNECE regs mean it can't turn the steering wheel enough, and it has to slam the brakes on mid-corner to try and get you round, which isn't ideal. But rolling along here at 55, it's perfectly fine. In fact, we can bang it back up to 60 now, because this is just relatively either straight or sweeping bends, as you can see, without any issues. So on a road like this, Autopilot, even in basic form Autopilot, is great. As and when we get full self-driving, actually enabled outside of North America when the rules change, I would expect it's going to do an absolutely spectacular job on roads like this, because I have seen videos put up on Twitter by people like Hallmark's Catalog, who will probably hate me calling it Twitter, but sorry, it's Twitter, and it shows the cars driving around on roads with bends and having an absolutely fantastic time. Bring that over here, please. It's going to make a real difference. And Tesla have literally bet the farm on autonomy. They are all in on autonomous driving. So the reason why there is no Model 2, or whatever they were going to call it, smaller car, the reason why that hasn't been revealed and instead they put the robo-taxi out is because they're all in on autonomy. So if we can't have maybe a bit faster around there, but no, it's managing it absolutely fine. I was holding on the wheel just in case, but no problem. But yeah, it's all in on autonomy. So unless the two-seater taxi with no steering wheel or controls is going to take off, then Tesla are going to lose ground versus, how can I put this, Chinese manufacturers like BYD, who are already making more money now than Tesla. They are going to fall further behind. So the all-in on autonomy bet is a big bet. A lot of us just want them to build brilliant cars. So obviously I've knocked it off because we've got a cyclist and a completely blind Summit, and I'm going to say be a long way behind her until I can see, and there's a load of traffic coming, so we'll sit here and wait. Happily, I've got sport mode on this, which means that I can do this and get out of her way. Oh, that never gets old. So as we come into Longman Hill now, the speed limit's going to drop to 50. The first bend that we come to, you cannot do 50 miles an hour around, and then the one at the top of the hill, you definitely can't do 50 miles an hour around. So let's see what it makes of it. So it'll drop the speed now to 50. I actually had to knock it off because it was going to just plow straight on through. So 50. Let's see what it does. Curvature assist active. There it is. Curvature assist active. And it's walking me around this bend and doing a really, really good job with it. So the speed limit's set to 50, but it slowed me down to 40 to make sure that I got around it. Let's watch it do it again. So it's braking. Curvature assist active, and we're down to 36. And you can see it doesn't like it because the amount of steering lock that's able to go on isn't enough, but it is able to get around the bend. And previously, it could not do that. It would literally trip out mid-bend and you'd have to take over. And that is the real difference with this new piece of software that's been added. It does allow you to get around bends that were just impossible previously. And that's a good thing. It's always beautiful as you drop off the hill and look at the North Sea. On a beautiful day like this, I am blessed to live in the northeast of Scotland. Another tight bend coming up, so we'll see what it does. So we've gone from 50 to 60. It's leaving the speed limit at 50, and again, curvature assist active on the screen, but it's doing a good job of getting us around this bend. We're slow, but we're getting there. And I think that's the difference. It's just learned what it needs to do. So it's shouting and saying, you know, auto steer limited. It was saying apply steering lock, basically, because it didn't think it was going to make it. But it did make it. So what I'm hoping for, and I think just to summarize this, what I'm hoping for is that they're going to continually make improvements. They have spent a whole load of time and money in America on full self-driving, and I hear about these NVIDIA chip farms where basically they've got all of these graphics cards bashing out AI processing to be able to do that. Great. In Europe, outside of North America, where we're not allowed to have that, we need more improvements on our dumb version of Autopilot. I'm genuinely pleased with what they've done here, and can we have some more of it, please? Because seriously, there's an awful lot of people who aren't in America who watch some of the videos and think, why can't my car do that? So more, please, Elon. So So I'm now dialing it down because of the 30 limit coming in. And as we've seen, it won't slow the car down before the speed limit, which is a bit stupid. The Volvo that I used to have, the S90 with pilot assist, that would slow you down into the speed limit. This does not. And the Volvo system isn't anything like as good as Autopilot at driving the car. So it's a bit flummoxing that the Volvo system does that and Tesla, even now, still doesn't. So this really is exactly the kind of environment that it should hate. Not only are we in town, but as you can see, there's practically no road markings because of the kind of road surface where they just throw chippings down and let it go. But we're still managing. Although I am going to knock this off in a minute because we're about to be not managing. It does not do parked cars. And maybe this is just a Europe thing, but in Europe you get parked vehicles like this one. What's it going to do? It's going to stop me in front of the van. Which would have been silly. And that's it. I do not know how much testing and software development they are doing for environments like this. I think there needs to be more. And on that note, let's go to the wrap-up. Back home now and the following day, having had a time to mull it over, what do I think of active curve assist? Well, it's definitely a step in the right direction. The car works better than it did before. It's definitely a little bit more compliant around some of those kind of bends, but obviously there is still a huge amount of progress needed, and it's a million miles away from full self-driving as our friends have got in the US and Canada. Talking about assistance, there's something that you guys watching this video can assist me with. The stats show that 70% of you in the last month aren't subscribed to my channel. Guys, what are you doing? Get subscribed. So much good Tesla content on its way, coming up very soon. So make sure you click the subscribe button, please, if you haven't done so already. And on that pleading note, we're going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you back here very soon on Just Get a Tesla.